First, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello, I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now. As always, appreciate you joining us. I want to remind you we're broadcasting live on YouTube and Facebook and, of course, all of our apps and our website, so lots of places to find us. And today we're talking about something that, if you know me, I always like to talk about, and that is robotics, the future of robotics. And one question I had there is, are you ready for your robot server? That is something that more and more people are experiencing, including out in Estacada, where there is a restaurant that is using one of the robots from the company that we're going to be talking about. The robot is called Plato, and we're talking to the United Robotics Group. I've got right now Logan joining us right now to talk about this, and I am so excited to have you on here to cover this and to talk about some of these different use cases of robotics. I think it's really exciting to discuss this. But to start off with, let's talk about this particular robot. And I know it's being utilized in Estacada to help serve at the restaurant. But Logan, what are some of the different ways, and I guess explaining what this robot is and how it's being utilized?
Sure. So, yeah, thanks for having me. So Plato is, generally speaking, most commonly used as a food service delivery robot, really taking away the mundane task of running something from point A to point B, right? So in the food service environment, that's going to be running food from the kitchen to tables, or busting of tables, right? Taking dirty dishes back to the dish area. Really, we try to take the approach that we are an extra set of hands for the servers. These robots are not designed to take jobs away. They're designed to make us more efficient, right? Just in the same way that a dishwasher makes us more efficient in the kitchen, this makes us more efficient in the front of the house, so that the server doesn't have to run back and forth, back and forth. They can spend more time with their customers at their tables, getting orders, drinks, refilling drinks, doing the more specialized tasks, and leave the mundane, moving something from point A to point B to Plato here.
And there's some, even just showcasing some of that video there, showing some interesting use cases. It looked like one was maybe a retirement facility, helping bring some things around there, but also in the kitchen. And I think that's, for a lot of people, it's understanding what those use cases are, because you did mention it's not meant to take away a job, but to help humans help themselves, basically. And looking at it from that standpoint, I guess, as far as how it actually works, can you go through a little bit of the technical specs on how it's able to navigate itself through and how someone would actually set this up to help them out in a restaurant setting?
Sure. Yeah. Some of your viewers might be familiar with a Roomba, right? It's very similar to that. When you first get Play-Doh, we actually help you deploy it, but we push it around the environment, teach it its map, teach it its environment, teach it the space. Then we define certain points. We say, this is table 15, this is the dish pit, this is the bar, whatever it is. And then essentially Play-Doh is just waiting for a mission. You can give it a mission through the tablet on its face, through an external tablet, or through a headset. You can say, go Play-Doh, go to table 5, right? Very easy to set up. The UX, UI, the user interface is very simple to use, very user-friendly. And it takes altogether about, under an hour for us to set up in an environment.
How widespread is it being utilized in this kind of setting right now?
Yeah, good question. We are on the just the cusp of market adoption and public adoption of robotics in hospitality workspace. It's still a newer technology for a lot of people. Obviously, a lot of people have emotions and a lot of feelings when they hear about robots. They see robots out in the public. This is understandable. The fact is that robots have been around for a long time in the industrial space, right, behind closed doors, away from the public eye. This is kind of one of the main products that's being brought out to the public arena, right? So, it depends on the country, depends on the area where you look at it. Asia, for example, is much more progressive in their market acceptance of social robots, or public robots, as we call them. But I'd say altogether, deployed around North America, you're probably going to be looking at under 5,000 or so. But we're finding a lot of we're finding a lot more use cases in other industries as well. So that's growing rapidly. As people begin to see them out more and more, there's only more understanding and acceptance of a tool like this.
That tends to be, like you even mentioned, going back to the Roomba, when that first came out, and now there's several different kinds, of course, of robot vacuums that you can have, but that was a very new experience for a lot of people. Now it's something pretty commonplace that I don't think anybody would be too shocked to see something like that. And I would think that's probably along the lines of this, any kind of new technology that comes out takes a while. There's always the shock factor and the emotions that come with that and understanding how it's being utilized. But along those lines, how this is being utilized. So we've talked about the idea of it being a server or helping in that space, but looking at broader hospitality use cases and even beyond that, where are you seeing it being utilized so far?
Sure. Yeah, great question. So it's going to be utilized in a lot of different industries. Again, really anywhere where you got to take something from point A to point B, over and over again. We've gotten a lot of great feedback from the healthcare industry, right? Taking lab samples to and from different areas. We're using one in a dentist office, taking patients to their seats, or taking dirty tools back to the cleaning area. Common uses for it are casinos, obviously with cocktails and all the things to the table, stadiums, maybe for your suite delivery mechanisms, airports. I mean, really, Greg, when it comes down to it, we're experiencing such staff shortages in so many different areas. Anywhere where you're moving something back and forth and you have staff shortage issues, which is almost everywhere right now,
Right.
a tool like this can be useful.
And looking at that, you mentioned in the medical field, and I think that's something really interesting for myself, medical side of things, but also even going back to looking at, the retirement community or senior home, something along those lines where there are staffing shortages. It would seem like this would be a good way to maybe help mitigate some of those issues and perhaps even provide more care. Have you seen that to be the use case when it comes down to that?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the main reason you're seeing such a expansion of investment into this space, right? The staff shortages are so prevalent right now. And what I would say is what we're finding is that residents and customers across the board really do love interacting with these robots, right? Our robot has a very cute face. It's very friendly, right? Kids love it. Families love it. Kids come to the restaurants to see it. People are using these as marketing tools to bring more people into the restaurant. So we're getting a lot of great customer feedback, and obviously, providing value, helping out as a tool as well.
Where do you see this kind of technology progressing from these, I guess, fair, not really beginning stages, but really as far as everybody getting used to it, beginning stages? Where do you see it progressing with the incorporation of more and more advanced AI technology?
Yeah, great question. Who knows, really? There's so many different areas to go. But I can say, generally, it will continue to get integrated in with other pieces of technology, right? So maybe integrated in the point of sale system or kitchen management systems, or maybe it's call buttons or electronic pagers where people sit down and allow Plato to come to you. Elevators doing more room service and delivery of multi-floor facilities. A lot of ideas out there, a lot of features to explore. Again, we're just at the cusp of the technology right now. It's a really exciting time.
I wanted to showcase, because you do have several different lines of robotics too that with your company. One of which has been, pretty world famous when we talk about Pepper. Pepper the robot. At least for anybody who follows technology, you've probably heard Pepper or encountered Pepper, which I did actually in Amsterdam. There was a Pepper robot that taught me social distancing. That was what it was being used for. So it was pretty surprising, but pretty interesting to interact. So looking at something like this, and I know you mentioned that in Asia this is being used a lot more, just generally, robotics are more accepted there and a little more advanced. How have you seen something like this robot, which is there hugging a child, being used?
Yeah, great question. So stepping back a second, URG, United Robotics Group, we are in 6 different industries. global player in robotics. So hospitality is definitely one of the industries. Pepper is being used in hospitality. She's also being used in healthcare and a lot of different use cases. Generally speaking, she brings interaction and engagement, a lot of joy when people interact with her. So she can be used for check-ins at a hotel, maybe information giving in different public areas. We use her in the senior living space as well as a companion and as an aid to get the residents up and moving around and play some games and dance and sing and stuff like that, right? Um, Same thing. Really, we try to create these solutions and let some of our partners and customers really run with this and find different use cases for them. We continue to be surprised every day with new use cases coming out for all of our solutions, and that's also really exciting.
Well, and giving people those tools, to do that. What are some of the most, I guess, what are some of the most exciting use cases that you've seen some of your customers use a robot like Pepper or Plato?
It's a lot has changed over the past few months with the introduction of Chat GPT and other chat bot type technology. So that's the newest thing that's been really exciting, is just hooking Pepper up to a web-based AI tool, so that maybe people who are a little bit less familiar, less savvy on the computer, can get some exposure or something like that. And you can walk up to Pepper and ask her anything you can ask Chat GPT, and she'll give you a response, right? So that's been the most recent exciting addition.
I'll ask this, and this kind of goes along lines with maybe some who are less tech savvy, but also, going back to the people who have concerns. Do you feel that there should be any limitations on what someone can adapt a robot like this to do?
Great question. That's a big question. Probably not fully for me to answer. What I can say is there are often misconceptions about robotics and what they can and can't do out there. Most all robotics today still are being programmed by somebody and are ran by code. Really, it's programmed to do whatever you want it to, and it won't do anything more. There obviously are a lot of explorations and research projects to push the limit of that. What I can say is that all of our tools are going to be extremely safe and more of a closed box, if you will, not necessarily an open box to think for itself and whatnot. So in general, I think, yes, there obviously needs to be some oversight and some regulation when, speaking broadly towards the industry and the technology. What that is, I am not privy to say.
Yeah, it's a big question, something that I think everyone's kind of grappling with right now, especially just with, how quickly a lot of the technology is developing, or at least seemingly
Right.
so, and coming out there into the marketplace. Is there, and I appreciate this conversation too, because I enjoy talking about this and just
Sure.
discussing where this is all going. But is there a pie in the sky use case, like best use case, that you could see for the development of the robot, either from the physical standpoint of things that it would be able to do, or even from an AI standpoint that you would most like to see it be able to do?
Are you talking about Pepper or one of the other
Let's talk about
solutions?
Pepper. Yeah, we'll talk about Pepper.
Sure. So the most sought after use case for a robot like Pepper is going to be a robot that can do most anything a human can do, right? That is maybe even determined on the fly. Think about a companion for an elderly citizen at home, maybe helping pick them up and take them to the bathroom, maybe making them food, moving things around, right? I'd say we're still quite a bit from that goal. There's some competitions out there, and there's a lot of prototypes that are being built that are trying to achieve that. Pepper, for example, she's not really that great at picking things up and moving things around. She's more of a novelty tool, right? Obviously, Elon Musk and others are trying to tackle this use case, having a robotic worker in a warehouse or a factory. Very challenging, though. Obviously, you need a lot of different things. You need great code. You need great hardware, you need dynamic, vision or knowledge from the robot. There's just a lot that goes into it. But I think from a humanoid robot standpoint, that is where most people are trying to get to, is being able to do actual tasks that a human can do in real time and with high variability.
Yeah, and having that full integration, which again will probably be something that some people will have some hesitancy as far as, first getting used to that. But robotics does seem to be, I mean, it's growing. This is going to be part of, I feel like anyway, part of society, part of our lives. And as you mentioned, they've been on the back end for a long time. Now I'm starting to see it a lot more, in physical places where people in general are going to be seeing it, like the restaurant in Estacada, which would seemingly be a random place to run into a robot. It's very much out rural, and Estacada, that's true. But seeing a robot there is something very unique for that kind of situation. So it's a fascinating subject. I guess for the last thing too, just for you and talking to the general public who's watching the show. Is there anything that you would like them to let them know, or maybe someplace to direct them to learn more about the robotics and what you're doing?
Sure. So I guess to let them know, I think one of the main conversations I usually find myself having is the general perception and idea of robotics, right? I think movies like The Terminator and I, Robot and a few other movies, and obviously there's a media narrative out there that robots are bad and AI is coming for you and going to take all of our jobs. I guess just know that it's not that black and white, and there are a lot of great solutions out there that could be useful for to make our whole society more productive and efficient. And to find us, you can go to unitedroboticsgroup.us and reach out to us through one of our landing pages if you would like to know more information.
Along the lines with the Terminator side, so you're confident that you're not, really the origin story for Skynet right now, right?
I am confident of that. At least that's my reality right now.
Awesome. Well, look, thank you very much for coming on to discuss this. It really is interesting, and appreciate your insight and just learning about, how this is all being utilized, where you see it's going, everything that we just discussed there. Thanks so much for some of your time today.
Great. Thank you, Greg.
And thank you to everybody, too, who's watching the show. Again, we live stream here for Fox 12 Oregon. We're called Fox 12 Now. We get to cover a lot of different topics and a huge range of things. Up next here at 2 p.m. Pacific. So if you're watching live, you can join back with me. We're going to be talking to the executive director of the Sam Day Foundation about their charity, about cancer research, about a golf tournament that's coming up. So a whole lot of things we're going to be covering. Switching directions there, so you can join back in whatever platform you're watching on. We'll be right back here in 10 minutes or so. So make sure you join me there. And if you're watching afterward, you can find all of our videos, all of our interviews at the Fox 12 Oregon YouTube channel, and more to come on that as well. So I'll be telling you some other places that you can find all of our content too. But for now, I'm going to sign off. I'll talk to you here shortly. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now.